Our next storyteller is Janice Bannister. I'm a huge fan of Jan Ban. Get on board if you don't know her work. She loves being a part of the Vancouver storytelling community as a teacher and a performer, and feels stories are a wonderful people connector, and she's absolutely right. Please welcome Janice Bannister.
Hi everybody. Okay, there's two things I hate about being virtual. One, I can't see the other people's faces, but we want to welcome them. And two, it's too easy that way, right? You can be sitting there with your pants off or whatever you're doing there, you know. These people had to dress up, but anyway, I'm basically no stranger to technology. I've been working with things like Google Classroom, and I've been working with, remember that thing called Skype? Boy, did they miss the boat, eh? And FaceTime for years, but then all of a sudden, as you all know, whoops, everything got shut down. So I, like everybody else, had to make a huge transition to the online community. And I thought, how am I going to do this? I got to figure this out. And this wonderful new to me invention came, and it was called Zoom, right? Did we all know about that beforehand? Not really, right? So what happened with me was I did some pitches to get some online classes because my students previously had all been live. And one of the first pitches I did was to a group of friends that I had who all had kids in the 10 to 14-year-old range. Predominantly young boys, and I thought, you know, they're all hurting. They're not connected with anybody. They've lost their friends. They've lost their community. I'll do a stand-up comedy class for them. Wonderful idea. I pitched it for Friday afternoon between 1:30 and 2:30. I told the parents, these are the rules. You let the kids be in their room. You stay out of the room, let them develop their comedy, and I'll work with them. And we're off. I'd never worked with Zoom before. But I set it up, I got all these kids on board, and then it hit me. I'm sitting with all their freaky kids on Friday afternoon between 1:30 and 2:30, and these guys are all having, the parents are all having happy hour somewhere, you know, on a separate Zoom somewhere. But the kids were great, because they had already experienced Zoom a little bit, and I hadn't. So when we began, they all were on board, and the best part was they just loved to connect with each other. There was a lot of laughter, a lot of connection, and a lot of things popping up on the screen. First, they were all wearing hats. I'm like, how did you do that? How did you get those hats on your head? Says, if we go on the back end, you gotta hit this button. I said, okay, great. And then next thing I know, there's chat just flashing all over the screen. I'm like, where's that word? Where are all those words coming from? What's happening here? And they're like, oh, you go into this button, and you just think, you know, it's all good. And then God knows what was going on behind the scenes. That was only the chat I could see, right? And then their names went from John and Michael and Adam and everything to things like bum fart boop, you know. And things. I'm like, oh my God, what is going on here? But eventually I figured it out with them. We did the comedy, we worked really hard at it, and by week 5, all of a sudden they're saying, hey, what's going on? I can't chat anymore. I'm like, because I figured it out. And they're like, hey, I just tried to change my name. I can't change it anymore. I said, I remind you again, Knobknees is not your name. Yeah. But the best part was we got to do a virtual show. They picked their own name. It was called the Jitterheads. And we punched it out there. Everybody was sent a link, all the parents, all the grandparents, and everybody came. It was like this virtual show. They came, mostly from Parksville area. There's a lot of grandmas over there, apparently. And we had about 65 people show up on this community show for these kids, and they loved it. We had a little chat session at the end, so everybody got to share all this joy. And I thought, oh, heck, I got this figured out now, right? And I'm also a grandma. So, I have 2 granddaughters that live in Los Angeles, and I have a granddaughter that lives in Port Coquitlam. Port Coquitlam, I get to see her all the time, pre-COVID. LA kids, one of them met me as a head, right? The first time I stuck my head in the car door when I arrived to see her, she's like, that's my grandma, I know that head. That's all she'd ever seen, right? But I thought, you know what? So I contacted party for the girls. And they're like, oh God. But I'm like, here's the time, 11:30 Wednesday morning, you just have them in front of the screens, and I'm gonna do all the work, you guys can do whatever you want, just have them sitting there. LA, so we set it up, the time came, the LA girl, and I said, get them to dress up, like this is fun, this is gonna be a dance party. And the LA girls, like I said, they were used to me. They'd always participate with me on screen in different mediums. So when they came on screen, they had their crowns on and their outfits and everything, and I had my tickle truck just stuffed. I had my red crinoline, I had all my 5 wigs, I had my crowns, I had my tchotchke necklaces, everything. I had it all ready to go. And they were like, Grandma, look at us, we're so excited, it's a dance party. I had music set to go, it was all good. They had beautiful smiles on their faces, boom, we're ready. And then on this other screen was my Poco granddaughter, who was looking like this. And my son said, she's not really interested, Mom. I'm like, well, let's give it a start. So I said, let's all start. I started up the music, and we started marching and doing our little twirling. If you've got granddaughters that age, between 2 and 4, they love to twirl. But LA was twirling, Poco not so much. She was like, no. And then all of a sudden, my Poco granddaughter put her face right up on the screen and said to me, Grandma, I want to be there with you guys. My heart stopped. I was just like, oh my God, she doesn't know. And so I said, my son said, that's it. She's like, I'm going to start to cry. My son shut her camera down and whatever. I still was with the LA kids, and I started to, try and recuperate. And so I said, let's dance and let's do this. And then it hit me. And I thought, she thinks we're together and she's not with us. So I sent my son a text and I said, I want you to bring her back on. I told him that. I said, I think she thinks we're all together and she's not here with us. I said, I want you to bring her back on screen, set her up some arts and crafts. I'll get the other girls to do arts and crafts. I'll set up my arts and crafts because God knows grandmas do arts and crafts. And so we did that. LA was in the arts and craft corner. I was in my arts and craft table. And then Poco Girl came back on. And she was still very reluctant. And I had to look at her and say, I got to explain something to you. She called it the cough. I said, the cough is everywhere. And she said, I know, Grandma, I wear my cough pocket. And I said, and that's a good thing. And I said, but you know what? Frida and Daisy are in at Los Angeles at their house. Grandma's in her house in New Westminster, and you're in your house in Port Coquitlam. And none of us can be together in one room. They're not in my house. I'm not in their house, but we're all on our own. And until this all ends, I said, this is the way we gotta visit each other. And she said, okay, Grandma, then I have a good idea. I said, what's that? She said, well, then if you're gonna be dancing, can you get better music? Apparently that's the way they are these days. But I will tell you that one of the things about doing virtual stuff is we've kept in touch since. We do a lot of Zoom things. We follow through. And would I like to be there with her on a regular basis? A Poco Girl I get to see now, LA girls I don't, so we still do the same thing. And it goes back to what Kayvon said about we may be wireless, but we still are connected, right? My granddaughters are very important to me. I see them on a regular basis, whether it's on a screen or on a visit. And here's my theory for everyone. Just put on your crowns, do your twirls, and enjoy yourself.